dialysis, even though I was living and I was working full time and doing everything. But she knew that, as time goes on, it's not going to be able to stay that way under dialysis. Yeah. Dialysis will have its effect. And plus, there are other things. Like we have one married child who lives in Israel. On dialysis, it would be impossible for me to go there. Yeah. Unless I did home dialysis, which we weren't going to be doing at this time. And there are certain physical things, that you can't do when you're on dialysis. So there's, so it was important to both of us. But my wife was really the major impetus to say, we're going to do this transplant. I was, a little bit iffy about it because, again, to take her kidney was not something that was easy to do.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. You're listening to Your Family's Health on the Voice of Nassau Community College at 90.3 WHPC. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard, and I'm here with Howard Feivelson and his wife, Aviva, and we will continue this short break after the short break.
Only in the forest can you see this. And this. And this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
I didn't know it could do that!
Because one trip to the forest can spark a world of difference.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, canoeing, fishing, or camping. Or create your own adventure with family and friends, and you might just see this. Your moment's out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
90.3 WHPC.
Welcome back to Your Family's Health. This is Dr. Jeanine Cook-Garard, and I'm here with Djovannie Petitfrere and my special guest, Mr. Howard Feivelson and his wife, Ava Feivelson. And we're talking about kidney donation and transplant. And they sharing this wonderful story about how Aviva donated her kidney to her husband, Howard. And we could just continue in this fascinating story of love. Let's just pick up from how long did it take in terms of the recovery? Tell me about the recovery phase after well, just to backtrack a little bit. When you made the decision to donate your kidney, when you went into surgery, tell me about the preparatory phase in terms of how long was the surgery? Did you go first? How did they harvest the kidney? And then how long did it take after harvesting the kidney to be given to your husband, Howard? Aviva.
So one interesting fact that I just wanted to point out is that the hospital or the team never wants to pressure anyone into donating. So while they get you ready, I got ready, the two of us got ready, we got into our, what do you call them? Into our gowns. I personally was as the donor. I was walked to the operating room.
Okay.
So they do that as one last effort. If I really wanted to back out, then I'm able to back out. So at any time during the process, the donor is always allowed to just say, I'm sorry, I give up. So that was one interesting thing to me.
What went through your mind as you was walking to? Just curious.
I don't know. It was a big storm that day, a huge storm.
Okay.
And my kids were in the other room with my husband, and I was just talking very calmly to the guy that was walking me there. But then they started asking a lot of questions, so that got a little unnerving. But otherwise it was fine. So they put me, lie down. I lied down, put your head and feet this way, and then I woke up. And I just don't have any recollection of anything. However, before the surgery, I did meet the surgeon. The surgeon showed me he made one literally tiny little nick on the right side of my pelvis, and then in the middle where the navel is, there is about a 2-inch slit. The surgery was done laparoscopically. Yeah. Where they take out the kidney. It takes about 2.5 hours for the surgery, and that was it, and then it was done.
So laparoscopic surgery, it takes relatively shorter time than would be
Correct.
Something an open incision. So recovery, how long was it before you recovered after giving your kidney?
Right. So I actually went to work the week after. Exactly 7 days. I went to work for a few short hours, and then after 10 days, I just was back to work pretty much for at least about 6 hours a day.
And how did you feel?
I was fine. I was totally fine.
So tell me, in terms of receiving the kidney, what was the process after your wife gave her kidney? Tell me the process of you receiving.
Well, I'll say the same thing like what happened with my wife. They wheeled me into the surgery. I would say about an hour or so after she was taken, because her surgery has to be done first, because they have to take out the kidney, and they do it like at the same time. They take out the kidney and then put the kidney into the recipient's body. So when they wheeled me into the operating room, they wheeled me into a room. I don't think it was the operating room. It didn't look like an operating room. And then, I don't know, within 2 minutes, I was basically asleep, and I woke up, and it was over. So the whole surgery itself, I don't know what occurred. I just heard afterwards before and afterwards what the process is. Afterwards, I was basically in the recovery room, I would say until about 2 a.m. the next morning. Then they wheeled me to my room, and they had a catheter, to take out to collect all my urine for about a 4-day period, because they have to constantly test the new urine that's coming out with the new kidney to make sure everything is fine, because one of the real problems with a kidney transplant surgery is if the kidney rejects.
Correct.
If your body rejects the kidney. And they're prepared right there on the spot to do whatever they could to offset that and make sure either that, well, if it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. But if some little thing happens, they're ready to take care of it right away. They told me beforehand that your pressure might go very high. There might be some bleeding. And they said that if there is an issue with the rejection, again, they will do everything they can. They said it's very unusual, very rarely happens that somebody just doesn't come out of the surgery.
And so what medications were you placed on to?
Okay, so in the hospital itself, now you have to understand, when you get any transplant,
right,
your immune system is going to be compromised for the rest of your life, because that's the way. I mean, medical science is amazing that they were able to figure this out, that the immune system, if the immune system is working properly, it's going to fight this kidney and not let it work, because it's not your kidney. It's not part of your body.
Right.
So they basically take away your immune system, and that allows the kidney to function properly and allows you to live a normal life. But in order to do that, you have to take some very, very strong medications. So in the hospital itself, during the 4 days that I was there, they gave me through my neck, they shot in like intravenously. They shot in a certain medication that I forgot, I don't remember the name, but they told me this is an extremely strong medication that will be in your body for 6 months. And this is the main medicine that's going to, compromise your immune system. You're going to be very compromised for the first 6 months, which means you have to be very careful not to get be close to people who are sick or things like that. And as far as the recovery, basically, as soon as you get up to the floor, to your room, they give you like 24 hours to settle in a little bit and get used to everything, and then they want you to walk right away. Right away, they make you walk around the hospital, around the floor, as much as you can. So in the beginning, of course, it's slow, but by the third day, I was already walking around, a good 4 or 5 times. And
how long did it take before you resumed your usual activity level?
No, that took time. They told me beforehand, expect to be out of work for 3 months. I had to take a medical leave from my job for 3 months. But they said, depending on the situation, depending on the job you have, if it's not very strenuous, you might be able to go back earlier. So the first 4 weeks for sure, they tell you cannot drive. But you should, again, keep walking and try to keep as active as possible. Mm-hmm. But again, stay away from crowds. Don't go too much amongst people because
you're
of your immune
immunocompromised.
system.
Correct.
And you're constantly going back to the transplant center for follow-up blood tests, see the doctor, see the nurses. The first 2-3 weeks, you have to go twice a week to the hospital. Then it becomes once a week. Now, at the 3-month point where I'm at now, it's basically every two weeks for a blood test and every month to see the doctor.
So when did you have the transplant? What year?
January 4th, 2018.
2018. Oh, you just had it?
Just had it, 3 months ago.
Wow. So how did it feel when you saw that your kidneys were now functioning as normal?
It's unbelievable.
What is that?
I mean, to actually go to the bathroom is a thing.
Yes.
And I just want to add this one little point. Yeah. My brother-in-law is a pediatrician in the West Coast. And so after the surgery was over and I told him how I'm doing, so he said he remembers in medical school one of the, one of the big things that he remembers from medical school that he had a high from was he had this Vietnam veteran that was on dialysis and for at least 2-3 years, and after he had a kidney transplant, he urinated for the first time, and he was dancing.
I know.
And he was singing,
yes.
And he couldn't believe that he was actually urinating for the first time in so many years. Yes. So when I read about that and I saw myself, even though I was not completely not urinating under dialysis, but it was certainly not what it was. So I saw that things were going in the right direction. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
So I know this is like a wonderful story for me, and as a nurse myself, did it make your marriage closer? Did it make the love stronger? I guess you turned it to me, right?
I think so. We hope so. Now that he's healthy, or healthier than he was at least before, I feel like we have a chance.
Yeah.
So I hope so. But one of the things that they actually tell you as a donor, the social worker is very adamant to tell you, do not think that you're gonna approve a relationship with a person once you donate. So, but that was not the case. So
tell us, how can people, because this is such a great story. Tell us, how do people get in contact with you? Because I know the listening audience is listening to this and saying, "Wow, this may be something for those that are having chronic kidney disease."
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to mention, if I have a second, that it's I think we were very close all the years, but this certainly bonds us much more, as if like we're literally one body. And it's and that's an amazing thing.
Oh, I'm crying now. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So and if anybody wants to speak to either myself or my wife, you could contact myself at Howard Feivelson, HOWARD, F as in Frank, EI, V as in Victor, ELSON, at gmail.com. That's Howard Feivelson at gmail.com. You could give us your name. You could give us a phone number. You could reach and we could reach out to you, or you could reach out to us how you want to contact us. Whatever it is, we'd be more than happy to speak to you about kidney donation and being a recipient. If you have any questions or you need to know anything else, we would very much be happy to help.
Wonderful story. Kidney transplantation, a gift of love, would you say?
Yes.
Yes, that's our takeaway. So this has been a wonderful interview. We want to thank our guests, Mr. Howard Feivelson and his wife, Aviva Feivelson, and also Djovannie Petitfrere for joining us in this interview. And we want to thank you, the listening audience, listening to Your Family's Health.